Alright, so in this video we're going to learn how to graph a quadratic function. We can take a look at our quadratic function standard form, and it's listed right here. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Alright, and I've highlighted our red letters. Those are going to indicate what we're going to be looking for when we're looking at our quadratic equation. We know that the shape of a quadratic function ends up being a parabola. Okay, so it ends up being a U shape like this. We're going to be looking for a couple things along the process. We're going to be looking for its vertex, and we're also going to be looking for its line of symmetry. Alright, the line of symmetry is what cuts the parabola in half, and it's also where the vertex must lie. Alright, so that's what we're going to be looking for to help us graph this. So the very first step that we have to do is we have to identify what A, B, and C are so that we can find our line of symmetry. Our line of symmetry is the very first thing we have to look for. So we're going to go ahead and take A, which is our 3, B is 6, and C is -2. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and plug into our formula for line of symmetry. It's x equals -b over 2a. So let's go ahead and plug into that formula. X equals -6 is our b over 2a, which in this case would be 6. So we end up getting an answer of -1. So our line of symmetry, in this case, line of symmetry, is x equals -1. It's important to see that we have our x equals -1. Okay, our line of symmetry, obviously in its name it says line of symmetry. So the answer we're getting is a line. Alright. If we remember back of how to graph the line x equals -1, this is a Vux line or a vertical line. So we're going to go to -1 on the x-axis right here, and we're going to make a dashed line. Do not make a point right here. Okay, we don't want to make any dashes or any points on our actual line yet. Right now we're just going to make a dashed line through x equals -1. Alright, so this right here is our line of symmetry. Now remember, we had said that our parabola is split by this line of symmetry. Okay, so whether the parabola is right here, I'll even draw a little sketch right now. If our parabola is right here, or if our parabola is something like this facing downward, doesn't matter. Our vertex, notice, is right here on that line of symmetry. So either here or anywhere else it's there. So we know one of our points of our vertex. I'm going to write vertex right here. I'm going to fill in what we know so far. What we know so far is our x value must be -1. So somewhere along this line of symmetry. Alright, I'm going to erase these now and we can go ahead and start to graph our own parabola. So the piece of information we know already is going to help us in knowing that the x value in our parabola is -1. So we're going to use that -1 and we're going to plug it in to our original equation. So let's go ahead and write it in. This is going to help us to find our y and finish off our vertex. Make sure to put parentheses when you're plugging in. -2. I'm running out of room here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. We have -1 squared, which is just 1, times 3 is 3. Right here, 6 times -1, so it's -6, and then -2. If we go ahead and finish our math, we have y equals -3 minus 2 is -5. Okay, so we found our y value now for our vertex, and we can actually go ahead and graph this vertex. So let's go to -1. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is our vertex. I'm going to go ahead and box this as well. Another key piece of information. Okay. Now the final thing that we have to do to finish our parabola is we have to go ahead and find 2 other points that we can use. One on either side of our line of symmetry, so that we can go ahead and see which way our parabola actually goes. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look for one point on your left and one point on your right. So our one point on our left would be -1, would be the closest x value. I'm sorry, -2 would be our next closest x value. And we can also do 0. But because we know it's a mirror, we can just go ahead and choose one of those points. Alright, and then we'll know what the other one is going to be. So I'm going to say that choosing the one to the right, 0, is going to be much easier to plug in for x. So let's go ahead and try that out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just plugging right back into my original equation, but instead of x being -1, I'm going to be plugging in 0. Let's try it out. I'm going to draw a line to divide my work up. Okay. So 0 squared obviously is 0 times 3, still 0, plus 6 times 0 is 0. So all we have left is -2. So we'll say y equals -2, -2. All right, we can go ahead and graph this as well. 0, -2. Now we can go ahead and finish this right side of our parabola. If we were to go ahead and graph the other side, all right, say we plugged in -2 for our x, without even doing it, we know, because this line of symmetry is a mirror, it is symmetric, that our other point is going to be right here. All right, so at -2, we're also going to get -2. So we can go ahead and finish our parabola just like this. And this is our final graphed parabola. Okay, there's our vertex, there's our line of symmetry.